So we're using the JOSM editor for OpenStreetMap, and we're merging nodes from the GNS name import into the actual OpenStreetMap database. And this node I happened upon, I guess, illustrates a pretty good point, so I thought I'd use it. And you can see I'm in the middle of working on a task, working my way from the bottom back and forth across the rows up to the top, and I hit on this Jalahun. And luckily we have some Bing imagery here. Always the first step when you're getting ready to merge a node is to check and see if there's any unmarked residential areas. You know, the important part of that is you want to make sure that you have all the residential areas possible marked, because once we start activating some of these maps, being able to see the residential areas in the background of these maps really helps us decide which location the node needs to go to. So we already did this. I already did this previously. We can check it again. You know, you scan around a little bit. You have a couple of kilometers, maybe 3 kilometers maximum. So let's see, this actually looks like a little bit of a residential area that's not marked. You know, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and mark that. Take me no time at all. It's kind of sparse, but we'll get it done. I generally do my marking of residential areas on the OSM data layer instead of doing it on the GNS import layer. Land use residential. Okay, so we'll just get that done real quick. So that one got outlined. That's probably a school. I don't know. Have to look at it in more detail. Good, quick, easy checks are... Oh, interesting. So there's another one I missed. That's very interesting. That'll come into play. So I used this Landsat. It really helps unmarked residential areas stand out. Okay, yeah. And then luckily I zoomed in and saw that was actually a residential area that hadn't been marked. Okay, great. So again, if it were me, I would switch right to the data layer. Oops. And I would go ahead and mark this one. And go ahead and say that it's residential area. And then switch back to the GNS import layer. Get back to my selection tool. And alright, great. Let's look at, okay. So I'm merging this node. So this looks like an unmarked residential area to me, but it's probably not going to come into play with this node. That one, whatever this is, if that's an unmarked residential area, it might. And it doesn't look like it is. Okay, great. So I think we got them all. Glancing at this, nothing stands out. You can also, of course, use the false color. And so I don't see one. This kind of annoys me, so I'm going to switch back to that. I'm going to switch back to that layer. And I'm going to deselect it and then switch back to the data layer. As always, the first thing that I select is going to be this U.S. Army JOG, and it has Jalahun, and it actually shows Jalahun right here. It's kind of hard to see, but it looks like the circle is right here. And you know, you can zoom out, and if there's a little bit, if it's too messy, you can just turn off the existing data layer just so you can find the circle, and then turn it back on. And then we're going to check with the AMS 1955 map. And the AMS 1955 map, Jalahun, and it's essentially putting it in the same place. And you can see, if you look at this, here's a river on that map, and it's placing it right in this, I don't know what you'd call it, this little spit of land that the river surrounds. It sticks it right in there. And if you look at the JOG map, we'll turn off that. You can see the JOG map is doing the exact same thing. There's a little bit of land that this river surrounds, and it's suggesting that it's right in the middle there. And, you know, luckily for us, we found that unmarked residential area. When I sat down to do this video, I was sort of thinking it was this one. So it's a good thing that we double-checked and we found this additional unmarked residential area because that sure looks like it's the one that we need. And if I would have marked it as this one, which I thought it was when I sat down to do this, then we would have mismarked it. So you always want to check for residential areas, and that's why it's important. Because if you don't have them all marked, it's very easy to just assume that, well, it must mean this one, when in fact there was one that was much better fit for it. And really the thing that I wanted to make clear when I sat down to make this was using the features in the map to help you place where these things go. This one is surrounded by river, and that's where the circle is. And the same thing is true here. You can see, let's turn off that background, you can see the exact same thing. Here's the river. River names are in blue and italic. So here's the river, and it's putting it right in that same hump of the river. So these two maps agree. You can always check this third map. Oh, look, the third map happens to have Jalahun on it, and it's placing it in exactly the same thing, right deep in that piece of land that's surrounded by river. Great. Plenty of confirmation that this is probably the right place for it to go. You can see there's a little bit of registration is off. Here's the river as it's drawn in the imagery. So we should really adjust the background image and get these laid out. But my main point was use the features shown on the map to help you figure out when looking at the imagery, if you have it, where these things might go. Great. I think we're going to mark this as Jalahun and take off our flag skip, merge it in, and move on to the next one.